Okay, welcome back to a special Super Bowl week episode of the In the Huddle podcast. We're doing things a little bit differently right now. We're going to do a tier list ranking the last 10 Super Bowls. We got the tier list right in front of us. Everyone loves a tier list. The ranking is as follows. S tier is pretty much your best Super Bowls, your God tier Super Bowls. A tier, very good. B, decent. C, meh, not great. And then D tier, which is just a terrible Super Bowl. So we're starting all the way from, it's the last 10. So Super Bowl 48 to Super Bowl 57, a.k.a. 2014 and 2023. So we're going to do it in chronological order, from earliest to latest. Let's start with Super Bowl 48. This was Broncos Seahawks at MetLife Stadium, which, why are you doing it at MetLife Stadium? That was already a terrible decision to put it there. Not only because of the turf, but I mean, the whole point of the Super Bowl is to have a neutral field, not only fan-wise, but in terms of weather. Like, if you're going to make it outside, at least make it warm weather. You don't want any conditions to affect the game. So, the fact that it was only 47 degrees during the Super Bowl was lucky. Like, it could have easily been 17 degrees in the middle of February in New Jersey. So, that was already a bad decision. It was a great matchup, though. It was the best offense in the NFL and the Broncos at the time. That was the year that Peyton Manning had 55 touchdowns, broke the record, over 5,000 yards. They were amazing. And then it was the first time that the Legion of Boom, the Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Richard Sherman, Pete Carroll-led Seahawks got to the Super Bowl. And it was supposed to be the matchup of the ages, and the defense for the Seahawks completely dominated at the end of the day. It all started with that first play where the snap goes right over the head of Peyton Manning, and they start off up 2-0, and from there on, it was a complete disaster of a Super Bowl. So, good thing this is the first one, because this was a pretty easy ranking. I'm putting this in D tier. I mean, it ended 43-8. Just an awful Super Bowl, which we don't have many of, to be honest. We only got a couple more I'm looking at right now that were not enjoyable, so we got pretty lucky the last 10 years. Now I'm looking at it. And then a complete 180 to Super Bowl 49, Seahawks Patriots. Is it the best Super Bowl I've ever seen? It's up there. It's in the argument. I mean, we don't have to go through the whole thing. Seahawks trying to get a dynasty. Patriots haven't won in 10 years. Tom Brady versus Russell Wilson. Jermaine Kearse down 28-24. Catches that insane catch where he bobbles it around, tips it to himself down to like the 5-yard line. Marshawn Lynch ran into the end zone, and the Patriots lost the game. And the rest was history. Yeah, and Seahawks fans, I'm saving you some heartache. But probably, honestly, yeah, it's got to be the greatest ending in Super Bowl history. Not for Seahawks fans, but I'm putting S tier. It was a back and forth the entire time, lots of scoring, good defense as well in some parts, and then great ending. What else could you ask for? Okay, we have Super Bowl. Oh, this is already skipping. Okay. This is not in order, but I found it. Super Bowl 50 is next. Broncos Panthers. This was the one year that Cam Newton just absolutely obliterated the rest of the NFL. Won MVP. They went 15-1. Actually, kind of similar storylines to Broncos Seahawks, except it was flipped. This time, the Broncos had the best defense in the NFL, and then the Panthers had the best offense in the NFL. And in both games, it has proved the statement that defense wins championships because the Broncos came out and absolutely dominated the Panthers. So this game, I mean, it was hyped up not only because of that storyline, but because it was Super Bowl 50. They had all the stars come out for that game. It was a great halftime show, I remember. A lot of hype, and 24-10 was the final score. It was pretty boring. I mean, the most memorable part of this game was when Von Miller strip sacked Cam Newton at the beginning, and then towards the end of the game, he also got strip sacked again, and Cam Newton refused to jump on the fumble, which basically ended the game. So, sorry, Panthers fans. You don't want to relive that moment, but you got to talk about the biggest moment of this game. People would call it D tier just for the amount of hype that it got and that it disappointed, but I don't know. There's some more Super Bowls on here. Like, I wouldn't say it was as bad as Super Bowl 48. This game was 16-10 in the fourth quarter. Like, it was tense. Like, the Panthers had a chance before Cam Newton fumbled it, so I wouldn't call it the worst Super Bowl ever. So I'll put it in C tier. Whoops, that's Super Bowl 52, which we all know that's not C tier. Okay, we got to go to Super Bowl 51. Patriots, Falcons. So far, we've alternated between bad and good Super Bowls. This was another great Super Bowl, of course. Everyone knows 28-3. Patriots make the greatest comeback in playoff history, or Super Bowl history, excuse me, not playoff history, but one of the greatest comebacks we've ever seen, obviously. First Super Bowl to ever go into only Super Bowl to go into overtime. Falcons, there's a lot of these Super Bowls where I'm sorry to some of these fan bases. Like, you don't want to be reliving these Super Bowls, but hey, it's Super Bowl week. We got to rank them. I am between S and A only for the reason that the first 2.5 quarters of this game were terrible. I mean, it was 28-3 at one point. So there was a point where most people thought, yeah, this is going to be a terrible blowout. So it's only really the ending that carries it. But it's just such an historical game and such a crazy ending that I think I'm still going to put it in S tier. But if there's multiple Super Bowls in a tier together, I will rank it left to right. Super Bowl 52. We finally got 2 good Super Bowls in a row. This was Eagles Patriots 2018. This will go down. I know a lot of people love this Super Bowl, but I think it will go down as one of the most underrated Super Bowls of all time. I think this is right up there in S tier. I'm putting it in S tier. And I actually am going to put it above Patriots Falcons. I think it was that good. I think the fact that we saw the most total yards combined by both teams in a Super Bowl. Tom Brady threw for over 500 yards and still lost the game. I mean, it was 41-33. There were insane defensive plays in this game. Obviously, the strip sack towards the end of the game on Tom Brady, which set up that field goal to put him up by 8. There's a back and forth. I mean, you had the Philly special. You had the Eagles winning their first ever Super Bowl. Tom Brady trying to get his 6th ring at this time, and they shut him down on that. I mean, Nick Foles came in for Carson Wentz, who was going to win MVP that season, and absolutely lit it up in the playoffs and played his best game of his career in the Super Bowl, which was a massive shocker. I'm a Chiefs fan, so I'm hoping that Brock Purdy doesn't kind of pull that same thing against us. Well, no, we won't talk about it. But, yeah, I'm putting it in S tier. I'm putting it smack dab in the middle between 49 and 51. Right now, so far, is the second best Super Bowl we've seen in the last 10 years. Okay, this one we can do quick. Super Bowl 53, it's D tier. It's the worst Super Bowl I've ever seen. Although I could see the argument that it's better. You know what? I actually am convincing myself as we speak. It is slightly better than Super Bowl 48 for the reason that at least it was tied going into the fourth quarter. Like, yeah, it was 3-3. But, like, if you were to say, yeah, you got a Super Bowl tied up going in late in the fourth quarter. I know it ended 13-3, so it wasn't close after that. But, I mean, it's still tense enough where you were still wondering who's finally going to break free first. And then, they threw that one pass to Gronkowski. Patriots finally punched it in, and the Rams just couldn't get it done all game. So, terrible, boring Super Bowl, though. Super Bowl 50. We all know I like this one. Where's the Chiefs 49ers helmets? I already set them back up there. That's okay. But this was Chiefs Niners, the first edition. We're going to see the second edition on Sunday. The thing with Super Bowl... oh man, I just lost it. Super Bowl 54. I think I just said 50 for some reason. Super Bowl 54, here it is. The thing with Super Bowl 54 is, although it's my personal favorite Super Bowl, is there was some stalemates at times. I think the first quarter was entertaining. The Chiefs went down, scored their first touchdown. We got the pick. And it was 10-10 at halftime. It was intense. It was close. It was even. But then the third quarter just sucked. I mean, not for 49ers fans, but just as a game in general. It looked like, Mahomes was throwing his first pick. They're going up 20-10. And then midway through the fourth quarter, Mahomes threw his second pick. And you're kind of looking at this like, okay, Mahomes, he's still young. He's not ready to go against this 49ers defense. Looks like they're probably going to win. And then Wasp happened. And then a Kelsey touchdown happened. And then a 3-and-out for the 49ers happened. And then we went back and threw it to Sammy Watkins where he absolutely burned Richard Sherman. And then Damian Williams scored. And then Garoppolo missed Emmanuel Sanders. And then we turned the ball over on downs. And then Damian Williams cemented it. So all that happened within a span of like 6.5 minutes, which was insane. Not only as a Chiefs fan, but we haven't seen a turnaround like that towards the end of the game. So that made it exciting. But it still ended 31-20. I think this is fair enough to put it. I want to put it A, but I'm gonna put it at the top of B right now. I'm gonna put it B tier. Okay, we got 3 Super Bowls left. Super Bowl 55. This was the COVID Super Bowl. Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. Chiefs versus Bucks. This was the Chiefs just didn't have an offensive line, and Patrick Mahomes was running for his life this entire game. And there were some crazy incompletions this time. But, I mean, there wasn't really any crazy memorable highlights. I mean, Gronk had 2 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette had the big carry for a touchdown. But this game was pretty much done by halftime. And the Chiefs just looked lost. And it was a fun matchup going into it. It was some great storylines. Obviously, the GOAT versus who people called the baby GOAT, Patrick Mahomes. So, you know, I'm also going to put this... Do I put it in D or do I put it in C? I think just the fact that we got to see Mahomes versus Brady, I'm going to put it at the bottom of C. I don't know. I think it's still special to see those guys face off. Okay, we got 2 Super Bowls left. Super Bowl 56, Rams, Bengals. I mean, you look at the final score, 23-20. It was close. It was close the entire time. But, I don't know, there's something off about this Super Bowl. Like, even the biggest touchdown of the game... Anyways, the T. Higgins touchdown, even though it was a crazy play in the game, like it kind of has a spot of bleach on it because I don't even know what that phrase means, but it kind of just has a bad mark on it because T. Higgins clearly face masked Jalen Ramsey and they didn't call it. And then it was kind of just a stalemate after it was 20-16. They were just punting back and forth. It was kind of boring in the fourth quarter. And then finally the Rams had that final drive at the end where they got the touchdown drive, solidified, Matthew Stafford's spot in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I would put this in B. I would put Rams Bengals in B. It was cool to see the Bengals back in the Super Bowl. I mean, my dad's a Bengals fan. So I was rooting hard with him. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was a close game at the end. And, when Aaron Donald cemented it, that was a cool play. So I would call it right behind Chiefs Niners. Okay, and then finally we got last year. Chiefs Eagles with completely unbiased all the way up until the final minute of the game. S tier, easily. S tier easily. Back and forth, 35-35 going into the final minutes of the game. Patrick Mahomes scrambling on that play on a bad ankle. I mean, just trading points back and forth. The fact that the Eagles were up 24-14 at halftime. And then the Chiefs came all the way back and finally stopped them a few times on defense. And then they were scoring nonstop. Kadarius Toney had the best game of his life. I mean, it was a crazy game. It was the Kelce brothers matching up against each other. Came down to the wire. But, the holding, I'll always hold the opinion that it was the right call. But yeah, as just an unbiased observer of the Super Bowl, yeah, it was a shitty ending to a great Super Bowl, so I cannot put it in S tier. So that will be the only A tier Super Bowl then. And there you go. We ranked all the last 10 Super Bowls. In order, it goes from best to worst. We have 49, 52, 51, 57, 54, 56, 50, 55, 52. Oh, I mixed up 52 and 53. Sorry, 53. And then last place, 48. So there you go. There's your tier list right there. And happy Super Bowl week to you guys. I hope you guys enjoy Chiefs versus Niners. It's going to be a lot of fun like it always is. And we'll see you guys back for the next video. Goodbye.